Welcome to The Discerning Mother, the podcast for Jesus-loving moms who want to tune out the noise and tune into God's design for motherhood. I'm Brigid, a board-certified women's health coach, holistic health practitioner, birth nerd, and homeschooling mom of 5. I help moms to heal their minds and bodies, trust their instincts, and embrace the beauty of the way God created them. Here we talk about birth, hormones, motherhood, faith, and anything else.
Learn to trust their instincts and step fully into the motherhood God has designed for them. I am Brigid, a board-certified women's health coach. I'm here to help you break free from fear, to reconnect with your body, and to embrace the peace and confidence that is already within you. Let's get started.
Some of you might be like, what is she talking about? So again, your symptoms are not actually a problem. And why this is important is because this is everything. Your body is going to continue to work as hard as it can to show you what it needs. And until you listen to that, you're just going to keep having the symptoms come up. And so I know that we're used to thinking that anxiety, the migraines, the hormonal chaos, the autoimmune flares, the exhaustion, we're used to thinking that those are the issues, but really, those are just the loud things. And so because it's loud, because those things are disruptive, it's the things that are keeping you from living your life, but that's not actually the root problem. It's just the language that our body uses to help us figure out what the root problem is. And so we've been trained, especially as women, to silence that. And so you probably have thrown supplements at it, or maybe you're doing biohacking, maybe you're going into saunas, which I love a good sauna, but also maybe you're going into saunas, just trying to heal it, trying to detox. Maybe you're doing ice baths. Maybe you're doing all the things. Maybe you even get a diagnosis and even like a great integrative care plan. But if you don't listen to what your body is actually trying to like say to you, healing will just feel like you're chasing shadows. So you're just going around in circles essentially. And so because healing isn't about silencing symptoms, it's really about trying to decode them, trying to figure out what it is that our body is trying to communicate with us. And that's the thing that we really want to talk about today. Okay. And so the thing is that God created our bodies to communicate. So he gave us pain, he gave us fatigue, inflammation, acne or other breakouts, menstrual pain, contractions during labor. He gave us all of these things and they're not malfunctions. Yes, I get it that they're sometimes, a lot of times very inconvenient, painful, annoying, everything, but they're really messages. And unfortunately, most of the time we're so busy numbing them or like really rushing past them that we miss what God is actually trying to show us. So for example, contractions during labor. Those contractions during labor are there for a specific reason. They are there so that we can move to help our baby descend. They are there so that we can feel whatever positions we need to get into. They're there for a purpose. And if we numb those, then things can happen that we don't want to happen. Same thing with a back pain. And this is where if you have any like stored grief, if you have digestive issues, it's your body really trying to process a trauma that your mind could not process. And even anxiety is your nervous system begging you to feel what you have been avoiding and to not even feel it, but to really lean into it and understand what is it that you need to work on. And so let me be really clear with all of this, where this is not new agey stuff. So this isn't like, let's manifest health with our thoughts and like do all the things like that. Like, no, this is understanding that God made your body, your soul, not just your body or your soul. And so what happens in the spiritual will, so the internal will that you have will show up in the physical. And so this is theology of the body that really meets like root cause healing. This is another way to think of it, like Mary and the Magisterium. And this is really trying to, restore what the world has told you to ignore. And so if you have done everything and you're still stuck, it's likely because you have been working on the surface. And so I work with women who come to me saying like, I had the baby, I did a natural birth, I did a home birth, I did a whatever birth, and still things kind of feel like they went haywire, or my labs are still like plummeting. My progesterone is super low. Like I eat clean, I'm praying, I go to mass, but something is still off. And that something is usually the trauma, the belief system, the story, the spiritual connection that's still sitting underneath of that. And so that's what we need to get into. And it's really uncomfortable sometimes to get into this, but it's super important. And so if that's something like it feels off, like even after you have the clean diet, even after you have all the blood work, all the hormone panels, all the supplements, go to confession, you're doing all the things. It's almost always that stuff that lives underneath the surface, the unhealed trauma, the beliefs that formed you as a child, the story that you tell yourself about what you're worth, or that your soul is like whispering to you like that you're not safe. Maybe you can't trust yourself or trust others. That is where the work that I do is really different. So I'm not just going to hand you a protocol that says, go fix your gut, right? Like, obviously that's an important piece, but you're not a machine. You're a woman. You're a body, a mind, a soul, like you have all these things. And God's just been trying to speak to you through those symptoms all along. And so what you might not know is that when you experience a trauma, whether it's birth trauma, medical trauma, trauma from childhood, chronic stress, betrayal, whatever it is, your nervous system does not forget that. And your body actually stores it, and your brain actually rewires around it. So your biology, what you see, really begins to behave as if the trauma is still happening. And that's because you have something called your HPA axis, which is the part of your brain that tells your adrenals, which if you have thyroid issues, you probably know what those are, how safe you are. And basically your HPA axis starts running on really high alert. And then your vagus nerve, which is a big nerve that runs like basically down your whole entire body, it controls rest, digestion, fertility, and calmness. That nerve goes dormant. And when that nerve goes dormant, the nerve that controls rest, digestion, fertility, calm, all of that stuff, things happen, right? And so even if your life looks peaceful, your body might not feel safe. And that's why your cycle could be irregular. That's why you keep getting inflamed, exhausted, wired, but you're tired. And that's why no amount of prayer, no amount of leafy green vegetables is going to cut it, because your biology is caught in a feedback loop your soul never resolved. And so that's where you have to bring God into the equation, because God didn't just design your body to function. He really designed it to feel and heal. He designed your body to speak, to perceive, to protect, to sense. So if your body is crying out through migraines, through IBS, if you have crazy cycles, if you have insomnia, if you're snapping at your kids, I promise you, although they feel awful, I promise you that it's not actually malfunctioning. It's really just revealing to you, it's handing you the map of trying to figure out what's going on. And that's what my job is, and working with you, is to learn how to read that map. And so it's so important that you're not just told, like, here's a supplement and say this prayer. No, like, you really have to uncover the root story. And that's what we do in my program, Restored by Grace. We really uncover the root story that's keeping your nervous system locked. And so I guide you to notice the places where your body might be holding on to that grief, that shame, that fear, that feeling of not being safe. And then from there, doing some really faith-based somatic work, using some different neuroplasticity tools, spiritual restoration, and honestly, just some really radical responsibility. I know that's hard, but like, it's so important so that you can begin to heal. And again, we're not coping, we're not numbing, we're actually healing. And so to sum everything up, your symptoms aren't actually the problem. They are the language that your body has been using to try to get your attention. And so it's now time for you to stop silencing them and to start actually listening to them. Because when you actually listen to them, it's where you can untangle the stories, you can repattern the brain, you can regulate your body, you can invite God into the places that never felt safe. Because that's whenever you're actually going to see a change in your life. So if you're sick and tired of being like sick and tired, you know that saying? Like, you're the one who has to do something different. And again, doing the gut protocol or eating this way or that way, yeah, they're obviously going to help you, but they're not actually going to be sustainable if you don't heal what's actually going on underneath of all of that. I can't tell you how many women I've worked with who they think that they're overweight. And then we talk about food, and then food comes to head all the idea about control. And then what's underneath that control. Once you heal what's underneath that control, the food's food. It doesn't matter. It's just food. But until you can heal what's actually underneath of that, you're always going to struggle with the food. So it doesn't matter if somebody says, eat this, this, and this. You're always going to be thinking and have that food noise in your brain about, well, I want to eat this, or I want to do this or that. I was talking to somebody, actually, a potential client. She is on a GLP-1. She lost a ton of weight. And I was asking her about like what the GLP-1 did for her. And she said it kind of just removed some of the food noise. And I thought to myself, I wonder why there was food noise to begin with. What was the food doing for you that actually made your body feel safe? Because I asked her, does she feel any different? And she said, no, not really. I just lost a bunch of weight, but I feel the same. And so again, these quick fixes aren't actually fixes, because she's on that GLP-1 now for life. If she goes off of it, more than likely she's going to gain at least all of that weight right back. So my question to you is, do you want a quick fix? Do you want the easy fix? Or do you want the fix that's actually going to change your life? And so if you are ready for that fix, if you're ready for the fix that's actually going to change your life, it's time to schedule a call or chat with me. If you're ready for a quick fix, then you can find that somewhere else, because that's not what this is here. And so if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. I know this is kind of a complex topic, so just let me know what you think, and see you next time.